I was awarded this lab to do my presentation, which is great because what it will allow me to do is tell you about the toolkit, and we'll actually walk through and do a web tour of some of the resources that are from the links from the toolkit. So one of the first things I'd like you to do is go to the internet and go to MPICT.org. We'll have a MPICT.org. I think all the computers should already be connected, on and connected. Okay. And then in that blue column down at the end, you're going to see a link to, it says tools and practices for increasing diversity in ICT. This is the toolkit. It is a PDF file of the information that I selected over the last 9 months. I call it my baby. So, of resources and tools and research and sites that have some pretty much all aimed at improving diversity in STEM or ICT. And so what I'd like to do is, while I'm walking through the presentation, I'm going to go back and forth as well. Did you find it, Carol?
I did not find it.
MPICT, well, first of all, MPICT.org.
But then come down with this column right here. There we go.
Can we save it to us? Oh, you sure can. You sure can. I recommend that you do that, either today or when you get back. And so I started working on this last April. I've been updating it every quarter as I run into additional tools, or people bring things to my attention. In fact, I presented it for the first time at the High Tech Conference last summer and got lots of great feedback that I then came and added to the toolkit. One of the things I have to do too is that when you're using a toolkit like this with links to the web, you're always having to go through and check to make sure that those links are live. And I try to do that on a regular basis, but if any of you ever run into any problems, please feel free to bring it to my attention. I really appreciate it, because then I can make the change. So before we get started, I wanted to share with you what are MPICT's goals and initiatives around this whole cause. And what obviously, as part of our entire charter of supporting faculty at community colleges in our region, is first things we want to do is identify and disseminate best practices. That's basically across the board our main interest. The other thing that we want to do is create a community of practice. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the session today, about how, if you're interested in continuing this dialogue and sharing, experience and ideas and tools, how we can do that. We also want to partner with the broader community to increase interest in ICT. And we're doing that through our there is a real linkage between this and our Pathways program, and working with by the broader community. We're talking about community-based organization as well as local workforce development. And then as part of that, collaborate with industry partners and our advisory panel to create experiential learning opportunities. So as I said, what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you a quick overview and how the toolkit is structured. And it starts off with an overview of the landscape, why this is an issue, why we really need, how we make the case. And a lot of times, as faculty or as administrators, that's the first thing you have to do. why, how do you get people engaged to even care, to want to do something about it? And then we want to, the toolkit goes into strategies and tools for specific goals, you know, reaching women, reaching minorities, students with disabilities, you know, so we then get specific in the toolkit, and then at the end, how we stay current. So, you know, ICT and diversity, you know, why it matters. Well, we've got, you know, when you look at that, how the demographics of our country is changing, and you look at the small percentage of those underrepresented students, it is just a sorry reflection of our overall demographics of the students playing in this particular field. And we've got 1.4 million new jobs coming in ICT by 2004, and we'll only graduate 29% of qualified candidates to fill those jobs. So if we're not tapping the entire pool of students, we're not going to be able to meet this demand, and in turn, more jobs will go out of the country. So we really, really need to take a look at how we do that. Now, if you go to the toolkit, I'm going to switch over, okay, to Acrobat. Find it. Okay. Okay, I had an error on my internet page. You go back to MPICT. You guys still have the Adobe up. I'm having a problem with mine. Okay, I'm back. So a lot of the data that I just mentioned to you about the number of jobs and what it's really going to look like in a couple of years as far as the demand and the skills gap is available in MPICT's Phase 2 report. So if you really want to see some of those specifics about the whole landscape based on labor market information, that is the report you would go to. I won't go there for now. James talked a lot about that. And then I found a lot of research, for example, you know, this is the one I think we're hearing about a lot, how the U.S. is falling behind the rest of the developed world. And that, I mean, we're even seeing a lot of commercials on TV about being ranked 27th when it comes to math. These are things that we really need to use in making our arguments about addressing this issue. And again, these are the type of things where as I find them, I add them to the report. It's more about the gender gap is even more pronounced. This particular article talks about how women in other developed countries are so much farther ahead than in the STEM fields than we are. So again, this first part of the toolkit is about making the case. The other thing too is, again, more articles that will help support you making the case. But one of the things that I found in my research, how many of you are familiar with the National Center for Women and Information Technology, NCWIT? Excellent, excellent source of information. And one of the things too is that a lot of their tools and research goes beyond just women. They do look at underrepresented groups in general in a lot of their reports, and they also have information on their site that talks about how if you can address the gap in women participating in ICT and incorporate some of those practices in your curriculum and in your pedagogy, you are going to reach most underrepresented groups. Because there's some similarities in the way that, you know, women, for example, the way women choose to participate versus where women of color and men of color and Latinos choose to participate. It's more of a collaborative, experiential-based approach to that is going to engage those students. And so, again, though it says National Center for Women in Information Technology, I would highly recommend a lot of their tools. One of the first things you have to do, and again, stop me, I'm going through this real quick because we don't have a lot of time. It's a used toolkit, but stop me if you have specific questions or comments or whatever, please. One of the first things, I am a big advocate of problem-based learning, because it's not only about, improving the way that we teach and the effectiveness of the way that we teach, but when I teach it to my students, I teach it as a life skill. Okay, and one of the first things you have to do in wanting to solve a problem is really understand what is the problem. What is the goal? What's the gap between where you want to be and where you're at now? And so one of the points that I make here in the toolkit is that you really need to know where you're at. You need to assess where you're at and set some goals. So the NC-WIT has a great little assessment tool called Survey in the Box that really allows, the outcome of it is to allow your students to be able to inform you as to what has been their experience in your class. Where are you having the problems engaging with those students? Another thing that you can do as well is, again, if you're driven by numbers, and again, like most of us are, if you're in California, for example, the California Community College Special Populations Collaborative has actually given you examples of core indicators you should be striving for in improving the participation of underrepresented students. Okay, so you can go there to that site. If you click on that, and you'll see that it starts very high level. What are the building blocks? What should you be measuring? Attainment in CTE courses, completion of CTE credentials, persistence, employment, people being employed. What is your non-traditional participation? If you haven't set in on Elizabeth Wallner's presentation on special populations and what they really are, she calls it Special Populations 101. I highly recommend you sit in on that presentation later on today. But non-traditional, we're talking about non-traditionals where 25% of the employees of that field are of the student's gender, 25% or less. So for instance, the number of men that are nurses. Okay, so that's non-traditional. And then completion of programs of those students. So those are the Perkins core indicators for if that's one way that you want to measure your program or what you're attempting to do. MPICT also on that first page of the MPICT website, MPICT.org, is a brand new research report recently completed. And it's just for California. Again, I'm sorry if you're not from California, but it's very, very eye-opening. That took a look over the last 3 years of student enrollment and demographics. It was really, really very interesting findings. Let me see if I have a couple of key points from my PowerPoint on that I want to share with you. It's called the California. No, I keep when I leave that site.
California Community College ICT student.
Yeah, Yeah, it's student enrollment and demographics. It's on the first page, and for some reason, every time I leave the browser, I get kind of hosed. I have to
Page 9.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Yeah, there we go. Very good. Okay. So it's called the California Community College ICT Student Enrollment and Demographics. Thank you. I'm going to leave Explore alone. Okay. Let me go down to some key points there that were really pretty interesting. Let me see if I got them. No, I didn't. I think I put them in my notes, and I can't see my notes right now. But one of the things that was really very interesting is that, of course, the number of women and Black and Latino students continues to decrease. Women, and James mentioned this yesterday, women, as a percentage, do a better job of completing programs. Now, unfortunately, they're really kind of clustered over into office technology and health information technology. But even those that are in the non-traditional technology, they're completers. Okay. The other interesting thing was this phenomenal increase, something like 12,000% increase in the number of students that are classified as biracial, other. Okay. So I think that's, something that we should be conscious of, because they may not, when you're setting your goals and taking a look at where you want to, see some impact or see some change, you need to consider that, because that is, again, a group that, again, there is still underrepresented. The other thing too is that, given our numbers in California can look really good sometimes because we are such a diverse state, but if you continue to look at the percentages as far as comparing the number of underrepresented groups with white and Asian males, there's still a long way to go. And so the report, I highly recommend that you download that one as well to take a look at where we're at, where we're trending, and where we still have some opportunity. Yeah.
Is that increase due to the fact that they started collecting data on, are you biracial?
You know what? I think that they started collecting the data too, but it's a conversation I have all the time with a friend of mine, and it's that basically the family demographic of our country is changing. Okay, and I think that is being reflected in our census. And finally, they're asking the question to gather that information to actually see it. Yeah. Asking the right question. Yeah.
As they put that on a college application now, are you, because like my son, he's half white, half black. Mm-hmm. So how did they answer that question? Yeah. Yeah. So now they have that option available.
And they didn't used to. It was just like, I remember when I was filling it out, I think it was a box that just said other.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I think that's right.
Yeah. And so, it's really great. So but I guess the discussion is still open. Is that, well, where do you put them? Are they considered underrepresented? I would consider them underrepresented, because we all know that if I can speak. But I know from personal experience that if you're half black, you're black. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's cultural. Yes, right. Exactly. So I mean, those are really interesting statistics that came out of that. So again, when you're making the case for change, you want to assess your situation, as I mentioned, set your goals, raise awareness. Again, I go back to NC-WIT on that one, and I'm going to take a look at raise my notes up here a little bit to see what page it is. Yeah, on page 12 of the toolkit, there's a link to NC-WIT's talking points. And these are great little cards about page 12. All of the, starting here. So they have wonderful resources page. You could probably just go there and stay all day. But these are links to their talking points. Why should young women consider a career in information technology? What are the facts? What do they mean for educational reform? Communicating for change, institutional barriers, okay, and their effects. How can I talk to colleagues about these issues? These are really, really great little talking points, little card-like brochures that you can use. And I think they even have some, I may not have them listed here, is there some that you can use with parents? And that's another thing that we've been finding is that you really got to, particularly in non-traditional and underrepresented groups, sometimes, again, coming back to culture, it can be the parents that are impacting a student's decision about the direction that they take. And which reminds me, what I should probably include here are the links to BAVAC's videos. They're wonderful. No, in fact, I have included them here. That was one of my updates. We'll get to that later. But BAVAC has some wonderful videos where they have in Chinese, in 2 dialects of Chinese, where a parent is talking about why they are excited that their child, their young daughter or son, have started on this path. And they talked about the differences that they had at first and how they overcame them. There's one in Spanish. It was the same thing. Talked about that. There's one in English where it's an Asian student who also talked about even though they were English speaking, there was a lot of the cultural influences as to why she as a girl was not encouraged to go. So BAVAC has some great videos that are specifically aimed at parents. But again, this is about the strategy that you're going to have to develop, to make a case for the things you want to do. And one of the things that I want to point out too is this toolkit is aimed at faculty, though I think that it would definitely be of interest and should be of interest to administrators. But like we were talking about yesterday in the soft skills training class, is that this kind of work has to start one person at a time. If you care about making a difference in your class, there are tools here that you can use, and you could just get this momentum going. You'll begin to see some success, in a longer term, and maybe it will get the attention and be the demonstration or the pilot as to why some of these things are useful and effective. And then again, one of the things that NC WIC points out is that when you take this on, you become a change agent. And you really have to think of it that way. And when you start to look at facilitating change, you have to really understand how systemic this all is. It's more than what you're doing in the classroom. Really having to understand that, right?
The resources that are out there for educators and administrators addressing this issue. Is there anything geared more toward employers in ICT and the roles they can play in?
The question is that when I was doing this research, did I find anything that was also geared toward employers and in getting more minorities in the workforce? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I think that would be something that would be a really good update to this toolkit. What do you have to look forward to once you get out there? Is that what you're saying? I guess your question is about readiness for these groups, or?
Well, that makes me think about sort of a message to students and future workforce, but I'm thinking of messages to employers and the roles they can play in partnership with education institutions and making creating those work experience opportunities or informal curriculum. More engaged in the effort.
Well, that's one of the things. Yeah. I mean, that experiential learning. When we were looking, in fact, I think that's part of the. When I go back to the NCWIT, okay, you know, you have the whole change here is around. I think what you may be talking about here is student support and maybe evaluation and tracking, but you know, I think part of an effective pathway to these careers is that experiential learning, right? And so I really think that pathways, career pathways that include those type of wraparound services are going to be a lot more supportive of underrepresented students. You know, because again, they have in a lot of cases, there's not a lot of availability of role models or people in their family that can tell them what this is like, and a lot of times that summer internship or that exposure or talk with an employer is their first, you know, opportunity to know what it's really like. And you know, I've heard some great stories about how that can really, you know, make a difference in, you know how they dress, how they talk, you know, that the importance of dependability, and all those soft skills that we've been trying to talk about now become evident as to why you have been talking to them and trying to get that across.
Toolkit for employers to
well, you know, there may be. What do you think, Carol?
Departments have things that dovetail into the education sector.
Are you talking more about a woman coming into an engineering firm or, you know, an all-white department that we would hire an African-American in, and how to integrate them more and make them feel more comfortable in the work environment, stuff like that?
Once they're on youth platforms, ways they can really partner with community colleges to make the education more meaningful, or to get the messages out about
well, if I can, I think maybe it's even a broader question, which may or may not fit in the context of it, but I think it's for one person, taking the study that we're working on to try to like some of these.
Veronica, you know, I always want to say Veronica, but you pronounce it Veronica, is with Career Ladders, if you haven't met her, and they're doing this fabulous study looking at blacks and Latinos in on the ICT education and career pathway, and so you can probably.
So I think the broader question is, if we look at, you know, diversity in ICT, what's the role of industry? Maybe be the broader question. I don't know if it fits in this, and I don't know if the things that you come across would be things that could be. These are the recommendations. Like there could be recommendations for educators, or recommendations for faculty, or you know, the different players in the whole workforce. Insane, but if for industry, you know, what I know some companies have, you know, diversity goals.
You know, and I think the interesting thing is most of them have diversity goals. What they don't have, like we are here talking to faculty about here's what you can do for retention and support of those students. I don't see much in industry of managers being taught. Instead, they're taught from a negative viewpoint. Here's how you avoid the harassment suit. You know, I mean, it's very policy legalistic approach as to a more supportive, you know. But I'm saying it's the exception. I think there are companies that are doing that, and maybe we need to look at those best practices and maybe begin to promote those so that maybe we could share them with our advisory members, for example. Are you doing this? Are you doing these things? Yeah.
You know, Carl, the speaker, he made a comment that just kind of crass, but it's bottom line is money.
Yeah.
This, you know, and we work with a lot of small businesses where we're placing interns. And, you know, our advisory group, our employers, we meet with them. And their number one concern is how this intern brings value to our organization. It's less about altruism, or small business. It's more about are they an asset or a liability? If they're an intern, they don't care what, you know, color, size, whatever. They don't care about that. They're concerned about are they going to come in and be effective and get what you want to get done, right? Yeah. Small companies. Yeah. Big companies might have more of those identity issues, I think.
Yeah.
I think bigger companies are looking at movers that are retiring and who's going to be replacing them and who's in California and how do we get, you know, the people that are in California to come into our job to be prepared. They just want to, and it might be true that industry-wise that maybe what's being looked at are maybe larger corporations, but another question is what, you know, what is interesting we can do. But I guess for me, in the study of group, we are interested in being able to do industry. This is what we're doing.
And you know, one of the things, and Carl and I have had this conversation because, you know, you're asked, what's your name? Daniel. You're absolutely right, because small businesses does not, they don't really have the patience and time that a larger organization will have. Or the personnel to do it, right. But you know, one of the things that has been shown to be successful for when, even in, say for instance, in the large companies, you place an intern, and that intern is usually linked up with a mentor within that company. And that mentor really is what is giving that intern coaching, advice, feedback on, you know, how they can improve and be better employees. And a lot of it is around the soft skills, right? And my question to Carl when we have this conversation is, well, you're in what better environment for that to happen than in a small business, because it is small and you can get that contact. But they're impatient. I mean, they're here, they want to hire, they need that resource right away, and they're not really ready maybe. And so my thought is, what about something in between where we learn from what the larger companies do, and we create, and excuse me if we go offline and talk about this, because this is very important to me. I want to make sure that we're getting information out to you that's useful to you. But maybe we can create, you know, as you suggest, in addition to this toolkit, that businesses, and small or large, that do not do these kind of things, here's some ways that here's what you can do.
I work with deaf students, and we actually have resources for employers. We do workshops for employers, managers, and co-workers when they're hiring deaf students. And we have all these best practices and integrate them into the workforce.
Yeah, and we could share these kind of tools.
Right.
Yeah.
Even we are developing right now online training modules for hiring personnel and human resources department. They have diversity departments and stuff like that. So it could be something similar for other underserved populations also.
So that's really good. Thank you for asking, because I think this is something we do need to address. And we're getting a lot of good information, like the study that Career Ladders is doing, the one that MPICT is in the process of doing, of understanding core competencies. We can take a lot of this and create information that would be of value to employers. So those are making the case, and then the rest of the links really get into some of the tools. How do you raise awareness? Again, and I'm sharing with you because you could. What I might do if you're interested, I can send you this PowerPoint because I went through and I went and matched all the pages to some of the things that you might be interested in. So like, more talking points, what majors are right for me? Okay, if you're really wanting to say, all right, drilling down and you're having a conversation with, this would be good for counselors. NAPEs is a really excellent site as well as far as non-traditional career preparation. Lots of information there. I'm sure most of you already are familiar with the National Association for Partners in Equity, NAPE. Excellent resource. And let's see, we can go to, just give an example there, we'll go to page 16. And that long list down below here, support services, I mean, that is, there are lots of professional member services. In fact, I'm pretty sure City College of San Francisco is automatically an affiliate member of NAPE because I think a lot of the regional consortia have joined NAPE so that the faculty there can have access to those tools. Go back to 16, and I'll just go to that list. We won't click through to them. So the whole guide has, has information and tools and research done on all of these areas. Support services for underrepresented groups. These are around things like, remedial support, things like that, and for academic prevention, early intervention when you're beginning to see, difficulties. And so it's really, the interesting things are here is even looking at school and classroom climate, which has a really, really major impact. And if any of you sit in on Donna Milgram's session later this afternoon, she does some really, has some really interesting tools and work around creating a climate conducive to encouraging women. Consideration for societal issues, which what you brought up is cultural issues here. So family characteristics, how families can have an impact and cultural impact on the choices that students make. So they raise a lot of what they call root causes and strategies is the way they present it. And so these are some of the issues that they look at. What are the causes of this and what are some of the strategies for dealing with some of these? It's really excellent stuff. And then, there's a lot of the curriculum here around pedagogy addresses this whole area of engaging and retention-focused curriculum. Again, around contextualized learning, which, by the way, I refer to career ladders in here as some of the work that they've done for contextual-based learning is really very useful, particularly when it comes from learning styles of blacks and Latinos. So again, a lot of those resources there. I mentioned Donna's work, National Institute for Women in Trades, Technology, and Science. That's Donna Milgram, and she's speaking later today. And so the Career Ladders has a whole list of resources, research on curriculum and ideas, education based on contextualization of topic areas. So a lot of opportunities there to improve your curricula. We've been working with Exploring Computer Sciences in our Pathway program at City Colleges, at MPICT. We're looking at, this is a really exciting program that starts K through 12 and prepares, generates interest to enter into STEM fields and particularly computer science. But this is K through 12. But we really believe that we really have to work in partnership with K through 12 if we're really wanting to attract more underrepresented students. So we include this as well, and we're looking at an opportunity for maybe convincing San Francisco Unified to implement this curriculum. Okay. You've heard about pair programming as a way to, as an additional approach within your curriculum. It basically, this particular tool by NC really helps to integrate that whole collaborative learning into your curriculum. Again, this is a tool that you can get there. I'm going to rush through this. Pair programming, again, mentioned there. One of the other things, too, is that it's really interesting phenomenon as far as underrepresented students in this area is stereotype threat. A lot of times students, basically, to put it into plain language, a lot of times students accept what's believed about them. Like girls accept that, they hear that girls aren't good at math, so they believe that, okay? And they will, fall into that stereotype. And so one of the things we have to do is a lot of times avoiding that trap, if you as a faculty, is a more mindfulness of some of the things that you have personally believe. As Carol was pointing out to us yesterday, we have our own perspectives, and a lot of times we're not aware that some of the things that we say or do, or how we react, can feed those stereotypes or feed that belief that that student may have. So these are really good. One of them is actually a case study that looked at how a faculty could actually be more mindful of those, to be more, basically well-intentioned but harmful, raising your awareness of those possibilities. And then there's a white paper on reducing the threat. I've only got 5 minutes, but I just wanted to show you, I hope this kind of shows you what the toolkit is all about, how there's so much out there. I wish I had a lot more time than what I have. But one of the things that I want to point out to you is that we are really promoting and wanting to get more participation from you in our community of practice. Last winter conference, we had our very first diversity track, where we had more than one. I think we had maybe 7 or 8 presentations on diversity. Donna was here, and one of our initial presenters, and we decided that, well, let's keep talking. Let's keep conversing, sharing ideas and what we're doing. And so we put together this community of practice. And so I am really looking from you, like one of the first things that I'm going to do is share this idea in a discussion here on what can we do around employers in helping them or getting them more engaged in supporting underrepresented students' pathways into ICT careers. Should we do a workshop? Should we create a toolkit? What are some of the resources? Do we integrate it into internship programs? I think I would like to put that question out to the community and say, what do you think? What resources can you share? What data maybe is part of your research that you've done that you could share with us so that we can begin to solve that problem? Okay. So what I'd like to do, if you're not already a member of this community, if you could leave with me your card so that I can invite you to become a member, and I will send out the invite, and then we'll probably start the discussion in a week or two after I get everybody on board, and begin to create some new stuff that we can share. So that I think was where I wanted to close, and that is with the toolkit. So I showed you the group site. So these are the links. You already have them in the if you've downloaded, or if you haven't downloaded it today, you know where it is on the website, and you can download it later. If you have any questions, I have cards. This is my email address, but I can also give you a card. We can trade cards as you head on to the next section. So, any questions?
I just wanted to comment, that's an amazing resource. Thank you so much for putting it all together.
Thank you. At first it was a little daunting. It was, yeah, I know it was. It's been a year, and and it's kind of funny. It's like I procrastinated for about 3 months because I'm just, oh my God.
Have you presented nationally on this? Because I think that would make an excellent presentation at one of the organizations that you listed.
No, I haven't. And one of the things I have made contact with the executive director of NAPE, and one of the Deborah Bover from Baytech knows the executive director of NCWIT. And so I said I would love to meet her just to thank her and tell her what fabulous work they're doing. But no, basically I have been sharing it every way I can to the whole community college environment, like at High Tech, and I've done it at the JSPAC and wherever opportunity that I can. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm a former high school counselor, and I was able to get resources for guidance.
Really? Okay, then what I should do, see, I haven't shared that with Unified here. So I will. I think, yeah, I mean, a lot of these materials are for K through 20. Yeah. Yeah.